Hello ladies and gentlemen, we're about to begin our live stream for Dieselpunk Wars, and it isn't just any live stream, it is in fact going to be our game release live stream. 1 hour from now, Dieselpunk Wars is going to be officially released. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the game's main menu and begin talking about what you're in store for. Ladies and gentlemen, I represent Image Power, the studio working on Dieselpunk Wars, and I hereby welcome you to our insane vehicle building, destructive, physics-based game, which is now finally, after months and months of hard, intensive work, is now going to come out in Steam Early Access in 53 minutes from now on, when I begin this live stream. So if you're watching this as a video format, well, good news for you is that Dieselpunk Wars is already out on Steam. And if you're watching this live, you have to wait a little bit more, and you can see the countdown in the top right corner, except for the time being, it's actually not displaying properly for some reason. My apologies for that, we'll fix that issue momentarily. Meanwhile, as this is worked on, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to our game. Dieselpunk Wars is like a mission, a game that is all about creating your own vehicles, just like you see in the background of our main menu. Yes, this is CGI, but the game itself does exactly what you see, allows you to do exactly what you see on the CGI. You create anything you desire from over 300 of different elements. And yeah, there we go, the time should now work, and it does! Hooray! So you can now see in the top right corner of the live stream how long it is before our game actually releases. My apologies for the slight inconvenience. We can now continue talking about Dieselpunk. The game has several different features to begin with. It obviously has a lengthy tutorial which is split into several different lessons. I strongly recommend that if you are a newcomer to this game, you take a look at least at some of the lessons. While camera control and vehicle control might seem intuitive at first, and should be easy to handle for anybody who played a vehicle game, FPS or third-person shooter before, but some of the other things, especially regarding creating a vehicle, probably require a proper lesson, which is why I recommend that if you are a new player to this game, you familiarize yourself with the tutorial. I myself obviously will also teach you how to play the game over the course of this live stream, although not at the very start of it. Moreover, Dieselpunk Wars is also going to feature a proper campaign mode. Later on during this live stream, I might give you a bit of a sneak peek into the campaign. Not too much, I do not want to spoil everything about the campaign, obviously, but I'll play through some of it, so that you can get a feel of how the campaign feels like, how it is to play it. The most important mode to many of us is actually the creative mode, which is a sandbox mode. You simply choose a level where you want to play. As you can see, we have 4 maps to choose from at the start, and you just load any of those and start doing whatever you want. In the sandbox mode, you can create your own vehicles, you can create vehicles for enemies, you can set up teams for the enemies so that they can fight each other, or you can have teams and fight against the AI, and just you can go wild while also exploring the area. However, if you just want to see how it is when a lot of things start blowing up all of a sudden, I recommend the Battle Simulator. Battle Simulator allows you to set up massive battles between various types of ships for the AI only. So you can easily set up teams and completely change the scale of the game with the Battle Simulator. It also allows you to temporarily gain control over one of the vehicles. So if you see that there is one vehicle that is a bit of an underdog and you want to see if you can salvage the situation, you can jump straight into action and save that vehicle, or be destroyed by the enemy. Dieselpunk Wars also has an advanced physics simulation, which means that vehicles can literally be blown to half, and that half can still work, although somewhat ineffectively, but work nonetheless. So without any further ado, I'd like to begin by showcasing you the, like I said, probably the most important to many players mode, which is the creative mode, and I'll delve into the campaign mode a little bit later. and I'll probably finish the stream with some battle simulation action. after the game's already released. My plan currently is to continue live streaming until Dieselpunk Wars is released, so for 48 minutes more, and then for a little bit after Dieselpunk is released as well, so that you have a good amount of time to familiarize yourself with the game and, you know, decide if you want to buy it or not. So let us begin by going on to the Islands map. Islands map is the one that many of our former and current players can already recognize, since this is the first map we revealed to public when we went live with the Kickstarter demo back in last winter. It's also available in our free prologue version of the game. Indeed, Dieselpunk Wars, even when it's out, it's going to have a prologue version of the game in which you can just test the creative mode alone on this once ago map. Now, prologue still needs to be updated with all the things that the current full release version has, so it might take a few hours before you are able to see the latest changes on the prologue version. Nevertheless, it will allow you to get a sneak peek into the game, so if that live stream right now is not quite enough for you, if you want a bit more, then the good news is that, well, you can just go ahead and play Dieselpunk Wars prologue, which will for free allow you to experience the fun of Dieselpunk Wars. Now, what is there to do in Dieselpunk Wars? I'll give you a very quick look at how fast and easy it is to set up custom battles in the creative mode. I already have a bunch of vehicles created, and every player that launches the game will already start with a few vehicles pre-made for the player. So if I want to just really quickly, without explaining anything, just have a little bit of fun and destroy an enemy vehicle in the creative mode, it's as easy as that. I created a vehicle for myself, or rather I loaded one. I created a vehicle for my enemy and I can start fighting already. And just like that, the battle is afoot. Now, I did give myself a much more powerful vehicle than the one that my enemy has, although as you can see the enemy is actually smartly deciding to move out of my cone of fire, but now my broadside is going to finish the enemy off. As you can see, there goes one gun, and this also demonstrates our destruction system. Everything that you install on your ship can be destroyed, and everything is interconnected. So destroying a bit of your ship might not necessarily destroy your vehicle, but at the same time, if you continue destroying more and more of your vehicle, or the enemy's vehicle, eventually it will just probably blow up. As you can see, this time we had a much easier job. What I'm doing right now is using another feature of the creative mode, which allows you to quickly spawn any number of enemy vehicles by pressing the F2 button. Right now I am attacked from two sides. I will focus on the flyer, and I was able to confuse the flyer a great deal by firing into its air balloons. And now there's only one tank left. Let's go ahead and ram it. Of course, our vehicle is not the best at ramming, but we're far heavier and we should be able to push it into the water. Or not, this vehicle actually has some pretty steady grip. Never mind, maybe it has stronger engines than we do, but we can still blow it up just fine. So as you can see, again demonstrating the damage effects and the destruction system of our game. Really not that difficult, it only takes a few seconds. It literally requires you to go into the creative mode, load any vehicle you want, press F2, and you're ready to start fighting. This time again, game is being nasty and spawn a vehicle behind me, but it's a weak vehicle, so I don't expect there to be any trouble whatsoever. In fact, I will not even have time to turn my bigger guns at this vehicle before it's already destroyed. Oh, maybe I will. Maybe I will. Yeah, actually it's still up. Turns out being small actually does mean your survivability increases, although very slightly. Excellent. So, of course, there's also one more thing I should probably mention as I go along. I do have access to stream chat, so if you ask me any questions on our YouTube channel, Twitch channel, or wherever else, I will probably see them. I say probably because sometimes live streaming is a little bit finicky in that regard. For instance, right now we have a very big stream delay for some reason. So anything you see probably happened at least 5 minutes ago in my time. So there is going to be a bit of a delay on that front, but nevertheless, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them and I'll answer them happily. Very well, now that we are all here and I explained more or less what Dieselpunk Wars is all about, I'm going to show you exactly what you can do in the creative mode and how you can operate your vehicle, which right now my vehicle is badly damaged, but that's fine. Let's see how long it can survive. So first of all, basic instructions are in place. You move your camera and you control your camera by using the mouse button. You can move your vehicle by using W, A, S and D buttons, so nothing special. By pressing Shift, you can activate an afterburner. This vehicle doesn't have any rocket boosters, so it's not very effective, but it does make your engines go into overdrive, which is useful. You can additionally fire with the left mouse button, and if you have multiple types of weapons prepared, you can also toggle between them by clicking on the number on your keypad from 1 to 0 to change between weapon groups that you want to use for your vehicle. In the creative mode, there isn't just nothing for you to do. There are a lot of secrets for you to find. There are enemies that you can spawn yourselves, but additionally there are also enemy turrets that you can attack, enemy installations. There are also spawn markers and other things to do, so let's demonstrate that. First of all, the thing you can see in the distance right over there, the orange thing, that's a spawn marker, just like the other spawn markers. There's a yellow one over here and a red one over there. In the creative mode, if you want to quickly test how strong your vehicle is, all you need to do really is go into one of the spawn markers and a wave of enemies will appear and you will have to see how well you can fare against them. Right now I'm driving backwards if anybody's asking, but that's not a big problem. I have very massive guns and I'm using one of the most powerful vehicles that are available to a player from the get-go, so I don't really have any difficulties in dispatching my enemies. However, I also have a few more enemies to deal with, and as soon as all of them are destroyed, the spawn marker will deactivate, signifying that it is now clear of enemies and that I completed this particular challenge. So this is one way for you to see how good your vehicles are. It's nice and easy. You can just hop into the creative mode and you can enjoy the action right away. Of course, if you go into a differently colored spawn marker, things might be a little bit more tricky. Let's try the red one, shall we? And we will see how dangerous it is to actually try one of those ones. Now you may have noticed there for a second that we couldn't see the enemy vehicle, it was only marked with this red icon. That is because this game also not only has proper physics engine, which takes into account, as you can see, even the speed, velocity and angle at which enemy projectiles impact your armor. Indeed, you can bounce shots off of the armor of vehicles in this game. That's how actually effective our physics system is. But additionally, something you have to take into consideration is that this game also takes into account things like visibility. So, for instance, you can actually be out of sight for the enemy, you can be so far away that the enemy cannot detect you properly, or that you cannot detect the enemy properly. So in order to counteract that, you need to install proper modules so that you can detect the enemy, and you probably want to avoid making a vehicle that is too large, because large vehicles are obviously easier to spot. Now, as you can see right now, we are in a big combat against two very bulky ships, or rather vehicles, we are not ships. Both vehicles are difficult to take down because of the enormous amount of armor we have. I believe that I have taken out some of the enemy's movement capabilities, which is why they have such a hard time moving, and they blew me up. So as you can see, luck turns quickly in this game. You might be the one who's doing the carnage, and at some point somebody may actually destroy you instead. So, I now moved into a different island. I don't want to showcase this island though, this is going to be something for you to explore, so I'm going to go ahead and teleport back into my starting island. And then I'm going to simply demonstrate to you how it is to create a vehicle from scratch. We have about 39 minutes before Dieselpunk Wars is released. I believe that a little bit of a tutorial on how to make vehicles and showcasing the system of vehicles is probably very important. So let's go ahead and enter the build mode. As you can see, the build mode is very advanced. It does start off with a fairly small amount of things on the HUD, and additionally you can also take away things that you don't need, although I, for my own sake, want to keep as much information on the screen as possible. But if you want to, you can still take away any of those windows and customize the build mode to your liking. You can also display any keys that will allow you to control the game by pressing F1 or by clicking the button in the top left corner of the game. When you want to create a vehicle or modify an existing one, you simply need to press enter, as I already did, and you will find yourself with this particular screen. Now, in this screen you can set up what parts you want to use. So, for instance, if I want to install... what could I want to install? Rocket boosters. I did mention those things in the past, haven't I? So if I want to install them, I just click on one of the spots in my hotbar and then search. I could search for the element in question, or I can instead just go into a category that I am looking for. So in this case, I'm just going to go into the movement category, and let's see. There are mechanical legs, those are fun, I like to use those. There are hover modules allowing you to create hovercraft, although with this massive vehicle making a hovercraft would be difficult. And there's also a good old rocket booster, so if I want to install it, I could choose its color if I wanted to. Let's go ahead and make it red just so it looks horrible. And I can install it just like that. And if I want to make my work a little bit faster, I can also enable a mirror mode, which will allow me to mirror any changes I make to this vehicle, and this will allow me to modify it that much more effectively. You can have multiple bars of parts active at the same time just to be more convenient to you when you start creating your vehicle. And additionally, it's also very easy to change and reassign any parts in those bars that you want. If, for instance, I wanted my first bar to be only about rockets, I could just fill it with rocket modules for whatever reason, and I could fill a different bar with some other types of modules. Let's showcase something else, shall we? How about we actually showcase some missiles? Yeah, let's go with a good old rocket launcher, there we go. And I'll also need some additional ammo, so let's go for missile storage and add that one as well. So normally you don't want to install your missile storages anywhere visible, but because this is a demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and do that anyway. And I lost track of my missiles, big rocket launcher, there we go. So, weapons have multiple different types in this game. There are obviously missiles, there are bombs, there are torpedoes. These tend to be very destructive, although they also tend to have some important drawbacks. Other weapons are high explosives, allowing you to destroy big chunks of lightly armored vehicles, or there are also armor-piercing weapons, very important when taking out the bigger targets. Alright, let's spawn an enemy for ourselves. Obviously spawning behind us, the game is tricky like this. But we can quickly see how our newest updates come into fruition by activating the boosters and by using the missile launchers. And I actually messed with both of my missiles because I'm not the best player. My apologies. Players are known for being somewhat, you know, bad at their own games, which is probably the issue here. But as you can see, my new weapons are installed. And these missiles are quite good, ensuring that large amounts of enemy vehicles are set ablaze. Because yes, you can also have your vehicles set on fire, you can have different sections of your vehicles flooded. All of this is something that is possible within our game. Now, I believe it's time that since I have already demonstrated the possibilities that await you in Dieselpunk Wars, let us go ahead and actually create an entirely new vehicle from scratch. Yes, I am sure I want to create a new vehicle from scratch. The game is nice enough to ask me, just in case I'm making a horrible mistake. I'm going to create a flying vehicle this time around, and I'm going to make it orangey color. Now, if I want to change the color of an already existing part, I can simply do that by using my paint mode and simply paint the color I want onto the part I want to modify. You can also use the paint mode to quickly change the armor settings for a vast number of modules without having to individually select them and change them. Although if you want to, you can also still just select a module you want to modify and then make any adjustments you care about. Now, Creating a vehicle in this game is actually very straightforward as long as you remember about a few key things, and I'll go through them with you. So first of all, when you have a vehicle, it needs to be controlled by something. So we're going to have crew rooms where that are essential to allow our vehicle to operate at maximum efficiency, both when it comes to moving around and when it comes to actually shooting down stuff. That is all very important. Additionally, we're going to need some fuel. Fuel obviously is going to allow us to actually move the vehicle around. We're going to go for large liquid fuel tanks and maybe a smaller liquid fuel tanks as well. Next up, we need some engines. As you can see, we have a vast number of choices to make, especially since now that the game is out of the prologue and now going to be released, there are more options than the previous were available in our free demo versions. But I personally am still a fan of the diesel, so I'm going to go for a huge diesel engine and I'll focus on that. I could also go for a supercharger just because it looks cool, so I'm going to have both of them added to my hotbar. Finally, I'm going to need some cooling since my vehicle is bound to overheat at one point or another. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and go for a good old-fashioned funnel, which is not very effective, but it looks stylish. And finally, just to make sure that my vehicle is spread out enough, I'm going to go ahead and use a bunch of frames so that my vehicle is a little bit more defended from enemy attacks. And I'll show you exactly how this works in a moment as I start making my vehicle. So if you're looking for a tutorial on how to create new vehicles and you perhaps don't want to use the in-game tutorial, you can either continue watching this live stream or you can check out any of our tutorials on our YouTube website for Image Power Studio, where we have published a lot of gameplay of Dieselpunk Wars already, including tutorials on how to build your vehicles. So I'm going to go ahead and start by adding crew rooms near my command module. Now, I already explained the crew rooms, but command module requires more of an explanation actually. Command module is the heart of your vehicle. If you lose your command module, your vehicle will blow up. It will be destroyed instantly no matter how healthy your vehicle otherwise is. You need to protect your command module at all points. It is the single most important piece of your ship. For that reason, I'm going to hide it really well. So I'm going to go ahead and install crew rooms in my ship as promised, and I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use aluminum. There's always the argument of how you're supposed to pronounce aluminum or however else, but nevertheless I'm going to use this particular construction material in order to lower the weight of my ship, because I actually want to create an airship this time around. So I'm going to add 2 crew rooms on the side, and as you can see, adding modules with different types of material actually changes the way they look. There's hard steel, there's brass, there's even glass, which is a little bit odd, but if you want to have your ship made of glass, it's fine. It will never be set on fire, and that's probably the only positive thing about it. And might also look stylish if you use it well. There's also titanium, the toughest armor of them all. And there's even wood if you feel old-fashioned. So as you can see, all of the choices are here to suit your needs, but I will continue to use this light and resistant material to create my airship. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few more crew rooms on all sides of my command module. Well, on 4 sides of my command module. There are more sides to cover, obviously, but it is good enough. Now that this is dealt with, I'm going to go ahead and separate my command module from the rest of the ship in order to increase its survivability. Since, as you see, there are very advanced integrations between different parts of ships in this game. For instance, if you use the afterburners for too long, your engines might actually get caught on fire, which is not ideal, especially if your engines which are caught on fire are near some valuable areas of your ship, which you definitely do not want to be caught on fire. So there's something to take into consideration right there. I'm going to put my engines closer to the front of the ship for the time being, and this is going to be my huge diesel engine. I could add one more engine, and I might even do that. Right now, this doesn't look like a very stable build, But don't be afraid, I'm going to improve it later. For now, I'm just making sure that all of the crucial components of my ship are in place. Now that I have done that, I can continue adding some proper fuel to my ship. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use liquid fuel to power my diesel engines. And as you can see, I have more fuel than necessary as displayed by the tab on the left side of the screen. I have 240 fuel capacity out of 200 recommended for the engines I have installed. I also have more crew than necessary, but from experience, I can tell that I'll probably need more crew than that, so I'm going to go ahead and install a few more crew rooms in order to cover my ship's crew requirements later down the line. In fact, I'm going to install a lot of crew rooms. And I have 120 crew out of 20 required, which is a bit of an overkill, sure, but it might be useful later down the line. Very well, now that I have installed fuel and engines, I'll need to think about cooling this ship down. So I'll need to find a place for the funnels. And this is where the tricky part starts, because I want these to be in a place where they aren't necessarily instantly destroyed by the enemy should the enemy fire at them. So I'm going to add 4 funnels in total, fairly far away from my command modules. Funnels aren't dangerous by themselves. I could even install them on top of my command module if I so desired, and it would be fine because they don't really catch on fire more so than other parts. They don't blow up by themselves, so it's generally fine. Finally, there's one very tricky part of the ship, part that I am always terrified of placing anywhere on my ships, and that is ammunition block. So ammo blocks, that being both missile storage and ammo storage, they have a tendency of blowing up if the enemy fires at them, as you might imagine, and they blow up in a rather large radius. In fact, the most effective way to destroy enemy ships in this game is to destroy their ammo storage, which is why I want to protect them as much as possible. Since my vessel is a flyer, I want to make sure that my ammo storages are fairly high up and that they're also a little bit to the back, since I'll probably be front-facing most of my enemies. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install a few more frames over here, and then I'm going to have the ammo module right here in the back, tacked as far away from the battle as possible, and I'll have my missile storage here as well. Now there is a downside to this. Of course, I am somewhat protecting my fuel reserves, although they might still blow up, so I might also add one more fuel compartment just to be safe in case the other fuel compartments are blown up. And also, hi there, Green Fire 835, good to see you, and yeah, I can't wait to release myself. It's less than half an hour already, it's only 25 minutes, and I'm really stressed out. It's been a long time coming since the Kickstarter campaign and the prologue came out and everything. It's now all leading up to this point, so I do hope it's going to be a stellar release. Alright, it's probably going to be fine in regards to the fuel. No, let's add one more fuel. Better safe than sorry. So now that I have installed all of those necessary compartments, I want to make sure that my ship can actually properly move. Normally, I would ensure that my ship can move by installing wheels and such. So I would probably go into land propellers and choose some of the incredible propellers we have. So let's, for instance, if I wanted to have my vehicle extraordinarily massive, in fact, my vehicle is too small to support this kind of propeller right now, which is kind of hilarious. So let's find something a little bit smaller, like this. So if I wanted to, I could have this vehicle be a tank and just drive like this. And as you can see, it moves kind of fine. Actually, I kind of like this design. It's not armored at all, it has no weapons, and it doesn't want to brake. No, stop! Okay. It moves extremely quickly, but it doesn't stop. Good to know. Alright. Oh, I'm being asked in the chat what's different with the full release compared to the prologue version, which was obviously free, so it had less features. So the full version of this game, as I showcased at the start of this live stream, and I'll do so again when the game actually launches, the full version of this game has a campaign mode spanning 4 maps and taking a few hours to complete. It should be pretty fun. Additionally, The full release also has a battle simulation mode where you can have a number of AI vehicles face each other, and you can also take control over the vehicles if you so desire. It obviously has the creative mode, which we are in right now, so this is what you should already recognize by now. It has 4 different maps. I'm showcasing the island map right now, but I'll switch to a different map later down the line for this demonstration. It also has a number of other features, such as over 300 parts, whereas the prologue had only, I can't recall, 120 or something like this, so we added a lot more parts. AI tweaks, general polish, all of those things have been added. Now, there will be also added post-release, since we are going to be releasing in early access. So one of the things that is going to be the nearest update for the game is going to be an endless mode, where you fight waves of enemies that get progressively harder as you go better and create a better vehicle. It's a very fun mode, not quite ready to be live, but that is why we're going for the early access, because we want to add more modes after we release. So anyway, yeah, it would make for a great run vehicle, but instead we're going to just go ahead and turn it into a flying vehicle as I initially planned. So I'm going to go ahead and use my frame modules to support my balloons, because obviously I want to have balloons. I want those balloons to be fancy and look like a proper airship. So there we go, these are going to be the supports for my balloons. Honestly, only 2 of them is going to be fairly... I see people are excited for the endless mode. I'm very happy. I cannot wait to showcase it myself. I was hoping to showcase it in the stream, but since it's not yet ready, it would bug out a little bit too much. So we're going to showcase it some other time. Alright, so I will now add the balloons, because I want my ship to actually move through the skies properly. So I already have a few of them prepared. I'll also add a few more of the gas floaters. I probably don't need the long ones, it's going to be fine. So let's go ahead and start building a proper vehicle. So I'll start by using those long blocks. I am quite a fan of those. And they'll kind of merge in the middle, which makes sense since in the middle we have our command block, so this should be fine. And I'm going to go ahead and keep expanding my balloon so that it can actually support my vehicle. Now, an important thing when making a flying vehicle is making sure that your vehicle can actually support your vehicle, as obvious as it may sound. For that reason, it's a good idea to check what your center of mass and your center of lift is, and you want to balance these 2 out so that they're more or less in the same position. Right now, as you can see, they're definitely not, and if I were to try to fly with this vehicle, would it even lift? It wouldn't even lift, bro. It wouldn't even lift. It doesn't have big enough, it doesn't have enough balloons. But nevertheless, even if it would fly, it wouldn't fly very well. So it's always very important to balance those 2 things out. So there is that. Additionally, it's probably not a wise idea to start working on your balloon before you finish the rest of your ship, because like I mentioned, you want to have your center of lift to be adjusted to the center of mass. So before I continue with this balloon, I'm going to go ahead and continue designing this vehicle. So since I want my vessel to be an airship, I will need to make sure that it's properly armed and that it is fairly well defended from attacks below the ship. So I'm going to take a quick look below the ship, and I'm going to create some armor for it, so that it is properly protected from anything. And it will make it so that it's harder to reach my command block, and so that the enemies can't really easily destroy my critical parts and critical components. So that's the... Oh, I forgot about the supercharger. It looks kind of cool, but I'll add that later as well. So for now it is okay. And let's go ahead and start armoring this vehicle, and I also kind of want to start arming this vehicle as well. So let's go ahead and look at the weapons section. Obviously I want my vehicle to be a bit of a bomber, so I'll add bombs to it later down the line, but I also wanted to have guns. Guns are fun, and as you can see we have a lot more guns than we had in the prologue version of the game. A whole lot more guns. So let's see, what am I feeling like? I want this gun to be attached to the bottom of my ship, and it is going to wreak absolute havoc. So I'll probably have it set up somewhere. It is 2x2, which is kind of annoying because I have a 3x, because my ship is 3 blocks wide, and that kind of just hurts my eyes. So how about we go for a bigger turret instead? The biggest one we have, this is a little bit too big, but in fact this one is so big that you cannot even attach it to the bottom of the vehicle, you can only have it at the top. But I mean, if I really wanted to, oops, I created 2 of those. If I really wanted to, I could have this turret at the top of my ship. A turret that's basically bigger than my entire ship. So yeah. And answering another question from the chat, yes, there are no motors and rotating parts. In fact, I should probably showcase them right away. So they are, let's see, manipulators, pistons, rotors, catchers, hinges, all those things are here. So if I wanted to place something that would pop out of the vehicle and then start firing, I could just place a few pistons. Then let's say I would want to add a turret on top of those. I could do that, and oh wait, I need to invert the turret, obviously. And then I would be able to extend and contract the pistons and have a really weird vehicle that kind of just all of a sudden pops out of a few weapons and then hides them again. So you can create all of those things. They are now in the game, and they are going to be a lot of fun. They're also tricky to use. I'm not the best at using them myself. I tend to make vehicles that destroy themselves. In fact, one of our developers is famous for creating vehicles that have melee weapons, so kind of like mechanical arms with saw blades at the end. And he's pretty good at making those. The only problem is he keeps hitting his own vehicle with them and cutting his own vehicle in half. Not very effective and efficient if you want to destroy an opponent, but it sure does look impressive. Alright, I need to re-enable the mirror mode to continue working on this vehicle. 16 minutes left until we're officially live with our game. Man, I am very excited and I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really stressed out, but it's going to be great, I tell you. Alright, so we're looking for a good weapon to use for our ship, so let's go ahead and keep looking. Big guns. Maybe for the bottom of the ship I shouldn't go overboard, because those guns are really ridiculously big, aren't they? I mean, they would kind of almost fit. Now that's 4x4, still too big. Let's go for something a little bit smaller. Let's see. I keep finding the exactly not the right type of turret. Oh, that should be... yeah, that is going to be good. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few more supports for the guns below the ship. I'm going to have my center of mass activated so I don't make too big of a mess. And I'm going to have my turrets, let's say, set up somewhere like this. Okay, and let's go ahead and add these turrets. So somewhere like this should be fine. It's a little bit far forward, so let's go ahead and fix that real quick. I'm going to add a few more frames just to make sure that everything is hunky-dory. In fact, I should add as many frames as possible just to make sure that this turret is attached tight to my ship and that nobody's going to break it off easily. And there we go. This should now be very, very possible. A very, very powerful ship that can attack anybody from high above. Oh, the Stick of Doom. Yeah, I should probably mention this game does have full Steam Workshop support, meaning that you will be able to publish your vehicles on Steam on the Steam Workshop and share them with other players, and also load the vehicles that were created by other players. So this should be quite exciting. I'm going to also excuse you for a second. I need to check something real quick with the stream. Just 1 minute. I need to confirm that something is ready. And then everything is going to be absolutely fine. Just 1 moment, I'm almost done. Alright, my apologies. We're about to restart our game, which is why things are some days requiring our attention, but I'm now able to return to creating this magnificent, powerful vehicle. So now that we have great turrets at the bottom of the vehicle, I probably want to add some extra turrets near the front. Let's create big guns, like really massive weapons of destruction. So something like this is probably going to be really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these two turrets to the side of my ship, like so. Okay, this is a little bit ridiculous, but I really want to have those turrets over here. So something like this, maybe. Now this is going to completely wreck my center of mass, of course, but still. Nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and attempt to make the ship work, even though, oh, it's going to be too heavy. Let's make it do something sensible, shall we? So I'm going to go into smaller guns, the puny guns. They're still going to be quite effective. I'm going to go for some more armor piercing, and I'm going to have them added to the front of my ship. Now, this is going to be a very powerful salvo whenever it goes off. Okay, we're almost ready now. I do probably want to have another type of turret, and that will be a mortar. Mortars are basically very nice turrets that set things on fire, blow things up, and they're effective against weaker of the enemy vessels, so I really like attaching a couple of those to my vehicle, so I'll do that. I could possibly use some anti-air defense, but at the same time I am an airship, so that might not be necessary. And I also reverse the invert of my mortars, and I'll attach guns to my guns. Because who said I can't do that? I want to have as many guns on my guns as possible. Thank you very much. Alright, there we go. So now with this extraordinarily powerful front of my vehicle, we're almost ready to start armoring it. But one last thing requires our attention, and that is the ability to detect enemy vehicles. And in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and real quick jump into the detection category, add a few view modules and install them onto my ship. So the front of my ship is a little bit flat, so I might as well install flat modules over here. They'll coordinate the attacks, and I'm going to install those kind of ramps so that my vehicle can properly see what enemies are trying to attack it from the sides. This is going to be rather important whenever somebody is trying to attack you and they are possibly sneaking out behind you, or maybe they are looking, maybe they're on the side of your vehicles, something along those lines. It's always good to have as many detection modules as possible. They're not that heavy, and I believe you're never justified not to have them. I'll even add one module at the back of my ship, and this should mean that I can basically never be surprised by anything, or at the very least that is my hope. And you know what? I don't think I'm going to be using bombs in this build, so I'm just going to go ahead and use good-fashioned ammo only. So I have now detached my ship from the back, which is why the back is currently blackened, since you cannot properly use it, since it's not attached to the ship. We can fix it real quick by attaching the ammo pack, and now it's nice safe distance away from my fuel, so everything should be more or less hunky-dory. I kind of want to have more ammo though, I'm not gonna lie. Just one more ammo, I'm sure it's not gonna hurt me. Right. Oh wow, we're less than 10 minutes away from launch. When we're about to launch the game, I'm going to go back into the main menu and I'll give everybody an introduction to the game once more. I don't have a bottle of champagne to open and share with the stream, but still, this will be a time to celebrate. Alright, finally, anything else we have to do? Oops, sorry, I accidentally clicked something I shouldn't have. Yes, I now need to properly add armor to my vehicle, since now I should be able to detect enemies coming from all sides. I could also potentially make this vehicle into a working vehicle if I so desired. So let's showcase that by going into movement tab and big spider leg. Now, if we reach some more stretch goals on the Kickstarter, we could have made real massive spider legs, but it is what it is, and this is what we're going to be stuck with. But still, it could be interesting to have a vehicle like this. Can it even walk? Oof. It can walk, it's just very, very front heavy. So it's not doing a very good job at walking anywhere but down, which is a bit of a problem. But if I were to just briefly add a few more spider legs at the front, how is it going to walk? Oof. Oops. I backed something out. Now this is something I should really stress out quite badly. The version I am playing right now is not the same version you will play when the game actually comes out. I'm not playing the release version. I'm playing one of the pre-release candidates that actually didn't make it into the game, but it was stable enough for me, so I'm stuck with it. But for you, if you see any of those bugs, well, probably, chances are you won't see any of those bugs because you'll be on a more stable release version. And secondly, if you do encounter any bugs, please do let us know about them in the Steam forums or on our Discord server, and we will do whatever we can to fix them as quickly as possible. Since obviously we want our game to be as fun for everybody as it can be. Alright, this is a very, very weird contraption. Alright. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have made that in case there are any people with arachnophobia watching the stream. I'm very, very sorry. But, I mean, for me it looks more like an insect, like a very weird scorpion-esque ant thingy. And most of its legs are... In fact, you know what's happening? Why it looks like it's hopping? Because it is hopping on only its front two legs, because all of its mass is at the front, and the other legs cannot even reach the ground. Oh, that's hilarious. Anywho, yeah, I was just wanting to showcase the spider legs. Mechanical spider legs, that is. We have way more things like this for you to use in your construction efforts. However, right now I'm going to go ahead and continue improving this ship. We only have a bit of time, however, before the game is actually released. So before we actually hit the release hour, I want to showcase some more battles. So for now, I'll save this vehicle as... how do we call it? I'm going to call it Final Hour, because it is being created in the final and the first hour of this game's development and this game being live on Steam. So let's go ahead and save the vehicle. Excellent. Now I'm going to go ahead and load a different vehicle. Or should I showcase some battle simulation? Nah, I just want to blow things up right now. I need some action for myself. I'm going to load into one of my favorite ships. This is YouTuber Swimmers. We don't need to see the center of mass. I'm going to deselect the mirror mode as well. And let's go ahead and have some fun, shall we? This is going to be a fairly big challenge we're going to swim into. I have 5 minutes and 30 seconds before release. I believe this is going to be enough to clear out the enemy wave and then make the countdown with you. So let's go ahead and activate the enemies. Alright, here they are. As you can see, I cannot see all of them. And one of the enemies is actually focusing on the allied base. The base you see in the background is actually allied, which is why the enemies are so intent on actually attacking it. Nevertheless, that was a big explosion on that enemy ship. It doesn't look very healthy now. It's trying to back out in order to have a better cone of fire against me. But other ships are still on me, and I've run ashore. That is not ideal. Let's go ahead and back out slowly. Back out. There we go. Now, where are the enemies? Here's somebody, but my turrets are currently set to auto fire. So they're doing a fine enough job fighting the enemies by themselves. I want more enemies. We're about to release the game. I want to have a spectacular battle with as many enemies there are. Alright, let's see. There's an enemy ship behind me. Let's see how well I can handle it while reversing with a ship that's about to run aground. Don't worry, I'm sure it's fine. In fact, let's stop reversing for a moment and start firing upon this ship right over there, if I can make this Titan. Now, I am inside a very powerful ship of my design, obviously. Not that I'm bragging or anything, but I really do like this design. Oh! I saw the bombs coming, and I couldn't do anything. I saw them too late and reacted too late. Oh well. Let's go ahead and respawn. Well, I respawned on land, which is probably not ideal. So let's instead go ahead and properly restart the game. In fact, I want to restart everything. Nicely done. And teleport to, let's say, maybe not aground, thank you very much. My ship is not really... my ship is not really meant to be on the ground. Yeah, I did jinx it, Let's go ahead and choose a different ship then. Since game clearly wants me to be on the ground, sure, let's go ahead and be on the ground. And let's fly far away. And you see that island over there? Let's go ahead and attack it. I have 3 minutes, 10 seconds before the game is officially live. Can I destroy this island? Well, we're about to find out. Probably not. It's very well defended against air attacks. But I'm going to try it nonetheless. Let's change the altitude so I can actually start firing all of my missile salvos. Oh, I actually set myself up to be an ally of this base. Well, that can easily change, so don't you worry about that. I'll just go ahead and land, and I'll change my team real quick. Let's say I want to be a pirate. There we go. And now the weapons. Oh right, I'm playing now. Oh yeah, I died. I'm playing now in a mode where the turrets have been disabled, so that basically you don't have to find the turrets if you don't want to. That's the idea. So I'm playing right now with the disabled turrets, and I forgot that I disabled them, so that's entirely on me. But it's fine. I don't have to destroy the turrets. I can just go ahead and spawn more vehicles, and that should be just fine. So let's go ahead and fight some more vehicles. Since I only have 2 minutes before the game actually goes live, let's see if I can properly fight them. Oof, that was a big explosion, and most of my vehicle is destroyed, and I blew up again. What a brilliant start. Alright, let's go ahead and keep flying. Can I make my revenge? Is a good question. Let's go ahead and restart everything. I want to start from scratch. I want this to be an honest battle. In fact, let's start this one. Let's see how well we do over here. Alright, I do have my bombs active though, so maybe I'll be able to... Oh boy! No, this challenge requires tougher ships than the one I am currently using. It's not strong enough. I'm being blown up to bits, and as you can see, I'm still flying because of how many balloons I have, but my center of lift is completely off center. So that is going to be enough for this attempt, but I can always try again. There's nothing that stops you from doing that in the creative mode. It will be different in the campaign, of course, but in the creative mode, if I want carnage, I will be granted just that. I can also move my vehicle around if I want to, and I'll do just that so that I can properly enjoy the havoc. And now, since we're... You know what? No, we're about to actually launch the game. We're only seconds away. I'll go back to main menu. It's time to actually properly showcase, do a proper countdown. 30 seconds away. So, to everybody who's joining our live stream right now, Dieselpunk Wars is our game which is all about creating your custom vehicles, having them fight against each other. You can go into a campaign mode, you can launch a creative mode, which I was in for the last hour. You can go into a battle simulation mode, where you can spectate massive battles of the AIs, and we have only 5 seconds before the game is launched. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and... Dieselpunk Wars is out now! Wonderful! Ladies and gentlemen, I'll continue with this live stream. I am very excited and I have a lot of features to showcase. But now I encourage everybody to take a look at our Steam page. Now, of course, Steam does usually have a bit of a delay when it comes to actually publishing its change. It needs to process everything, servers need to be updated. So if you check our Steam store page right now, it is possible that the game is not yet available for you. Don't worry, it's fine. Give it a minute or two and the Steam servers should update. Everything should be okay. So, with that said, Dieselpunk Wars is now officially launched in Steam Early Access, and I cannot express how happy I am. It's been very difficult several months now, and I'm happy to see this game launched, and I'm happy that players will be able to now enjoy the campaign mode, the battle simulation mode. And while I'm giving you a chance to take a look at our Steam page, and seriously, do visit our Steam store page for Dieselpunk Wars and check out our game. But while you're doing that, while I am giving you time to check out our Steam store page, I should probably mention a few factors about the game. First of all, if you are by any chance owner of a few select games published by our publisher, Playaway, then you will be given a discount to our game, which is basically a bit of a gift bonus from us to the players. We hope that you appreciate it. We set it up with the other companies so that you may enjoy our game at a discount if you own any of the other games mentioned in a Steam post that should be visible on our Steam site momentarily. Moreover, the game is also discounted for the first few days after its release, as it usually is the case with Steam releases. Additionally, you have a few bundles to choose from if you want to purchase a few games at once, not only games made by our studio, but also games made by different studios. I also encourage you, if you are still making your mind up whether or not you want to purchase Dieselpunk Wars, I do encourage you to check out Dieselpunk Wars Prologue, which is a free version of the game containing only the creative mode and only 120-ish parts. I don't remember how many parts exactly, but it should give you a decent enough feel for the game. Although the prologue mode doesn't currently have the new and updated tutorial, we'll implement that into the prologue as soon as possible. Now, for those of you asking, how is this full game now different from the prologue version? I'll again repeat myself. This full release has 4 maps to choose from, as opposed to the one you have in the free version of the game. It all has over 300 different weapon parts and modules and everything. It has manipulators, it has pistons, rotors, hinges, anything you want to create robots of your dreams or nightmares as well. So everything on that part should be quite exciting for you. It has a full-fledged campaign mode, which should last you for a few hours. I'm not going to say it's extremely long, but it should nevertheless still be quite unenjoyable campaign, I hope, and it should also teach you the basics of the game, although if you are new to the game, I do strongly recommend that you check out the tutorials first. And again, like I just mentioned, be patient. The game will, the Steam store page, if our game is not yet available, it will become available. And if you are our backers from the Kickstarter campaign, make sure that you are using the correct version of the game, although I believe that you will automatically download the latest one if you use the keys that we sent to you via email. If you have not yet received your keys, check your spam folder. Your keys may have hidden in there. If you don't have anything in the spam folder, then contact us on our Discord or via email or on our Steam forums, and we'll see what we can do to make sure that you get your access to the game as soon as possible. I believe that those are all the important factoids covered. Now, without any further ado, let me again tell you one more time that Dieselpunk Wars is a vehicle building game where vehicles can be cut in half big thanks to our advanced physics system. Bullets can ricochet off of the armor pieces, and additionally you can have different sections of your ship set on fire, flooded, and everything all together. So it should be pretty fun. As we progress, the game is going to have additional things added to it after its release. So it is going to have an endless mode added, and it will also have additional balance changes, features, and all the things of the sort. Now, give me a second. Apparently there is... Oh, okay. It seems like... Alright, very well. It seems like there's a bit of a technical problem, so I'm going to go ahead and enable the be right back option. So give me a second and I'll figure something out, and we'll be back on the live stream momentarily so that everything is going to work swimmingly. So yeah, I can see there was a bit of an issue with actually publishing the game. So everything should now be sorted as I'm handling it. So give me a moment as we are having this little break. Do not worry, a few minutes of a delay happen and everything should be live momentarily for you on Steam. And I'll mute myself for a second as some of the important things are happening, but rest assured that we'll be back momentarily. Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the new world in which Dieselpunk Wars is now live on Steam. Again, give Steam a few minutes in order to make sure that all the servers update. It's possible that, for instance, you may need to refresh your browser if you're looking at Steam through your browser or anything, but nevertheless, Steam should now be available. And apparently, yes, people have been asking about it. There was a little bit of a delay. Technical problems happen, but now the game should be released. If you don't see that it is released, just keep refreshing the page and it should be possible. I can already see it on my end. It might take a moment for you to actually see it yourselves, but it should be fine any moment now. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and return back to live streaming. I'll introduce the game one more time for anybody who's joining us now that Dieselpunk Wars has been released. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me them, and I'll try to see if I can answer any of those questions and catch them as soon as possible. There is a bit of a stream delay, so by the time I see the questions, a few minutes have passed for you. That is normal for live streaming, so don't worry about it. Anywho, I'll now go back into the game and the main menu, and actually I need to update my there we go. Dieselpunk Wars is now out, which means that you can go ahead and enjoy it and have fun with it and give it a try. And if you're still on the fence whether or not you should buy it, you can continue watching this live stream. I'll showcase a bit of the campaign, I'll showcase you a battle simulator, and I will continue making my fancy vehicle in the creative mode of the game as well. So, first of all, one last time introduction. Dieselpunk Wars is a vehicle building game with advanced physics simulation, where vehicles can be cut in half, have different sections fall off, and still work despite the damages, although obviously slightly worse. You can have your bullets and projectiles ricochet off armor, either your armor or enemy's armor. All of those things are simulated in our physics engine, which is very advanced. You can create any vehicle you want with over 300 different parts. You can have fun on one of 4 different maps. And there are also other updates coming after the game is released. We'll continue supporting it, obviously. And the first big update that is coming is going to be an endless mode. I cannot give you an exact ETA on when the endless mode is actually going to launch, but it is going to be a mode where you have to fight continuous waves of enemies and continue improving your ship for as long as possible before you're eventually overrun and destroyed. There will be also a high score system for that as well. But for now, the game already has a campaign mode, creative mode, battle simulator, and a proper tutorial. So, with all of this in mind, let us go ahead and first of all, I think I should showcase you one of the new maps before I showcase anything else, shouldn't I? So let's real quick jump into the desert map. And I'll give you a real quick overview of how one of the new maps looks like. I'll show you exactly how the combat looks like. Again, I know I've done it before, but explosions they never had. There we go. So this is the starting location on our desert map. As you can see, it is a little bit sandy, but it has a lot of wide open spaces. So if you want to create those massive tanks, this is probably the map I would recommend you to do it on, because you have quite a bit of space to have fun with. Additionally, there are also cliffs and canyons where you can hide if you want to see how well small vehicles perform on this map, so all of this is possible for you. I'm going to go ahead and showcase a battle as quickly as possible. So let's have a quick look. What am I going to try first? I'm going to showcase again the Sea Monster. It is just a very powerful ship. It's very good for demonstration purposes. And I know I won't die stupidly if I showcase anything with the Sea Monster. And I'll also, for the enemies, you know what, I won't create any vehicle for my enemies. Or maybe, you know what, I will, because I want to see a battle between a Sea Monster and, let's say, a few of the newer designs that you haven't been able to see in the game thus far because they were using unusual gear. So this guy is going to be in blue team. Oh well, I selected red team, I guess. But that's just me misclicking. Let's create another vehicle over here, and let's load a different one. And this one is going to be, let's say, what is another new vehicle you haven't seen before? Does it piranha? Well, that's a swimming ship. But yeah, let's go ahead and use Blade Racer. Why not? You may see this vehicle in a campaign. You may see other vehicles in the campaign as well. But let's go ahead and have it. I'll give it the same theme as the other vehicle, which should be fine. And I'll make it into a ram vehicle, because why not? Why not? Ramming speed is always fun. So as you're about to see, Dieselpunk Wars consists of two different things. First of all, there is the battle mode, where you can fight against enemy ships, and that's where you will spend a lot of your time just seeing how well your creations perform, and you'll try to destroy increasingly powerful enemies as you progress through the campaign or any of the other game modes. Additionally, you can also really quickly spawn new enemies by pressing F2 button if you are in the creative mode. In this case, I created an enemy right behind me, but it is not an issue. I do have auto-firing turrets, which should help me deal with any of my enemies without too much of a problem. As you can see, you can also ram things quite easily. These are billboards. We don't need to have billboards, so let's destroy them. But it's far more satisfying to ram enemy ships and vessels and vehicles. So let's go ahead and showcase how that works. I'll let the enemy ram me, kind of. Alright, that was kind of lousy. That's because I had a very slow speed, because I was actually reversing rather than riding forwards. But you can do all those things. You can have individual parts of the ship set on fire. As you can see, parts of the ship can actually fall off. Well, in this case I destroyed the entire ship because of how powerful my attack was. But if a more powerful ship were to appear anywhere, you would quickly find out that you can easily have different individual parts fall off. And you can see that with my ship. As you can see, we're starting to lose some parts, or rather some of my parts are starting to show wear and tear, as they're getting a little bit browner and they are a little bit worse for wear. Oh, there's another fun ship to fight. It's also a little bit scary. It is using mechanical legs, it has saws, but it is not the fastest, so we should do okay. It does have fairly high rate of fire. So all of this is only one of the two key modes of our game. Another important key mode is the one in which you actually create those vehicles. And that is the build mode, which allows you to create all of the magnificent creations you see right now before you. Now, the creations you see right now have been created by the developers, but this game also has a number of vehicles created by our Kickstarter backers as well as community challenge winners. So you will simply have to go ahead and look for those or spawn those if you want to see what the community created. Nevertheless, as you can see, parts of my vehicle have already been destroyed. You can see inside of it, you can see the engines exposed, and all of this is thanks to our very advanced system. Also, before, when we were in combat, and just a second ago, you could see the ricochet system in action. If a bullet impacts our vessel at a small velocity at the wrong angle, it will bounce off completely. Oof! These ones definitely had the right velocity. They did not bounce off. I'm still fighting, I still have a vehicle, it's just mostly cut in half, and I'm also out of ammo. You can see the ammo in the at the bottom part of the screen. So yeah, now my vehicle is absolutely toast, and it's the time when you surrender, but I did fight an entire armada, and I was busy talking about what this game is all about instead of explaining the game. Let's go ahead and restart this entire mission and show you a little bit of the build mode, which we are in right now. I'm going to load the vehicle I started creating before Dieselpunk Wars was officially published on the Steam store. And you can see it right over here. So this is the vehicle I've been working on, and working on a new vehicle is actually surprisingly easy, if I may say so myself. Basically, you have 4 hotbars you can set up with any parts you want. You just have to click on a part and then choose what you want to add. If you want a decorative module, sure, why not? We may have a golden eagle. Let's add a golden eagle, why not? Well, it would probably obstruct the vision and turret's cone of fire, but adding and removing parts of a vehicle is actually fairly simplistic. There are a few things you need to remember. For instance, you have to add the engines you want your vehicle to move, you have to add a means of propulsion, you have to add fuel, crew, all of the stuff, which is neatly laid out in this window. You can also set for an element you want, you can set through all the different categories. Basically, this build mod is created to be as intuitive as possible. If you find the abundance of windows annoying, you can always go ahead and hide the windows you don't need, or maybe you do want to have the extra stats, then you just pop out the extra windows that will give you some more tooltips or whatever else you want. You can change the colors of anything and other things. You can also modify existing add-ons and the parts. You can bind them to a particular weapons group. You can activate auto-aim so that the weapons fire themselves, and basically they're targeted by the AI rather than you, which is only available for select few weapons, but it is possible nonetheless. So I could, for instance, say that I want all of these forward-facing weapons to auto-aim, and then if I were to simply go ahead and create a new vehicle in front of me and make it into an enemy vehicle, let's go for something weak because my vehicle is still in construction. So let's go for Drifting Cutie. It is a very, very weak vehicle. It's probably the weakest vehicle we have in the game. So right now I would first of all fall on the ground, but secondly my guns will automatically open fire on the enemy vehicle even though I'm not firing at all because of the auto-aim being enabled. They're not firing anymore because they don't have a proper cone of fire, because these particular guns have a very limited cone of fire. Let's restart because I don't want to deal with this enemy. And we're going to go ahead and continue showcasing all of the possibilities we have in this game right now. I'm going to create a bit more of this vessel, and then I'm going to showcase some of the campaign mode as well as the battle simulation mode. So our vessel is now nearly complete. It needs to have some more armor, it needs to have proper balloons, and then it will basically be ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead and set up the proper parts. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and set up a bunch of slopes, because I'm definitely going to need those. I will probably want to have a few cubes. I'll definitely want to have some triangles. And for now this will probably be enough, but just for my convenience I'll add some frames if I want to have something light. So all of this is going to be nice, and I'm also going to make sure that I select the lightest but fairly resistant materials that we have available. Okay, it's not necessarily the lightest, I believe that there's something even lighter than that. No, never mind. I am using the lightest materials, which is the lightest material in the game, which is going to allow me to fly more easily. So now let's go ahead and armor my vehicle properly, and I will do so by adding the white slopes. So first of all, I'll enable the mirror mode to make my job a little bit easier. I'll rotate the part using the mouse wheel, and I'll simply insert it where it needs to be inserted. It's actually a very easy system. You can rotate your parts in various cones, or rather on various planes, and you will get a hang of it when you play the game's tutorials. We also have a number of tutorials on our YouTube channel for you to enjoy, so they should explain everything quite nicely. Alright, over here on the side, you know what, I don't want those weapons to stick out quite as much as they currently are, so I'm going to go ahead and look for those weapons. Are they those big turrets? Yes, they are. I'm going to uninstall them for now, and I'm going to install them over here. So they are just now barely protruding. They'll just barely be visible beneath underneath all of my armor, but at the same time they'll be a little bit better protected, and I believe that this is a very important thing for us. Since our ship needs to be light, since I'm making an airship, but at the same time I also want to make sure that this ship is quite good at repelling any sorts of attacks. So now I'm going to simply continue adding armor. I can press the Q button to rotate my parts, and then add the remaining bits and pieces of armor, nice and easy, just like that. I'll add a white slope. In this case I need to use Q again to rotate the part in exactly the way I want it to be rotated. And just like that, it's done. And also I'll need another triangle over here. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them in the chat. Again, Dieselpunk Wars should now officially be live, so you can go ahead and check it out. As we continue through the development of the game, we'll continue adding more game modes, that being the endless game mode that I already talked about, and most importantly, we're going to improve the balance of the game and the stability of the game. For that, we need the community feedback. This Dieselpunk Wars is a very, very advanced game after all, and it is essential that we get as much insight from our community as possible in order to make sure that our game doesn't have anything game-breaking or anything of the sort. We couldn't do it entirely alone, which is why we're asking for your help, because it's impossible to test an open-world game with advanced physics in every possible scenario, which is... so yeah. So any help will be deeply appreciated, and if you encounter any bugs whatsoever, please go ahead and visit our forums or our Discord channel and let us know about them, and we'll make sure to iron everything out as quickly as possible. Alright, I'm having a question if you can go supersonic. Okay, so technically speaking, there's nothing in the game that would limit you from going supersonic. So if you make a vehicle fast enough, you should be able to do this. Is it actually factually feasible to create a ship so fast as to go supersonic? I personally don't believe so. You would need to have more powerful engines or something along the lines. We wanted to keep this in the Dieselpunk theme, so while you can make airships that don't actually use balloons but are just you know, winged aircraft entirely with rocket engines and whatnot, yes, you can make them, but they're not that fast in theory and in practice. Okay, in theory, maybe if you just make engines alone, maybe it will be possible to go supersonic, but I can't promise this. I don't think it would be doable. You would need to have too many rocket engines. So, while we didn't limit that ourselves, I don't think it's doable nevertheless. Okay. For this area, because this area protects the most important part of my ship, the command block, which is right over there, I will need to have some extra defenses, so this part will protrude a little bit above the rest of my ship. So I'm going to go ahead and add a quad triangle block underneath all of the other blocks. And I also rotate it like so. And I messed something up a little bit, didn't I? Alright, let's go ahead and do it again. I'll disable the mirror mode, it's going to be easier for me. And like I said, if you see any bugs on the stream, chances are you won't see them in the release version. For this live stream, I am playing a developer version, which is older actually than the version you will have on the Steam available, so your version is going to be more stable than the version you see on this live stream. Nevertheless, it is still unfortunately possible that you encounter some bugs, so again, if you do, please go ahead and let us know about them, and we'll be very appreciative on that. Meanwhile, if you are still on the fence whether or not you should buy this game, I will remind you that we have a free prologue version of the game available, so you can check this out and see if the prologue is to your liking. The prologue has very limited selection of modules compared to the full version of the game, but it does, however, feature the creative mode and one map where you can have a lot of fun on, so it should still be jolly good for the testing purposes, whether or not you like this kind of game at all. And then you can give a try to the proper full release version of the game. Okay, what do you want to add at the bottom of here? I really feel like this would be a great spot for a bomb, but maybe not. Maybe I'll just keep it as it is right now. This is going to be a decorative area and a place that will just have the extra armor for my defense, for my command block. So I'm going to keep it as it is. Then I'm going to go ahead and rotate my modules and create a similar area at the top of my ship. And actually, yeah, I should really go back to using the mirror mode now. There we go. And last finishing touches. And my command block should be very nicely defended now. And just because I like to overkill things, I'll add one more turret at the top. because hey, why not? The more turrets we have, the better. And now another turret that is not available in the prologue version. At least I don't believe it is. I might be mistaken, but I really don't recall it being there. It's a nice anti-air turret. Now, it is somewhat obstructed by everything, but it can fire to the sides fairly well, I suppose. So it will give a little bit of extra protection to our ship. And in fact, I am kind of tempted to add the same kind of turret underneath my vehicle. But what I could do instead is maybe add a sphere gun, or just a hemisphere gun instead, and add it over here for just this little bit of extra oomph and a little bit of extra versatility. So alright, let's go ahead and save my vehicle. I'm going to still keep calling it the final hour. And yes, I do need movement. That's a very fair point. I need to actually move forward, not just up with the balloon. So I'm going to deal with movement as soon as I see where my center of mass is. This is a very important part when making your vehicles, since the center of mass is you want to place your engines for your airships in an area that is near your center of mass and center of lift, because otherwise your engines might actually cause your vehicle to steer upwards or do any other sort of impractical things. Also, I don't want this area to remain empty. That doesn't look good, does it? I'm going to go ahead and add a cube over here. In fact, I could just add a long cube at the top and underneath as well. This adds a little bit of mass unnecessarily, of course, which I'm not a big fan of. And as for my engines, I could add more cubes here, but instead what I am going to do is just add a few armor plates over here. So let's go ahead and do just that, and I'll add armor plates to cover my engines completely, which should make them a little bit safer. I'll do the same for my proper, whatchamacallem, fuel modules. And now is the important part. Now that I need to figure out how I want to protect the ammo modules, because these are very vulnerable and I don't want them to blow up, because this would be very, very awkward and it will destroy my ship within a matter of moments. So let's go ahead and use cubes and log cubes and add both of these at the top of the ammo blocks, like so. And also underneath, I'll leave a space deliberately. Actually, you know what I want? I know this is not the most optimal. I do like to leave spaces for my ships and vessels and vehicles, because this is more optimal. It creates a bit of an air gap between the area where the enemy hits your vessel and the area where you actually store important stuff. But in this case, it's an airship. I want to be nimble. I want to have a small silhouette, so I won't do that this time around. Only this time around, however. I'll also add a long cube to extend this bit of armor right here. Nicely done. And I can now go ahead and properly finish my attempts at making sure that everything is nicely set up and armored. So, oops, that shouldn't be the way it is. Let's go ahead and rotate this block. Nice and easy, armor it again. And there we go, it's now almost ready. We're now going to go ahead and just add a little bit more of armor over here at the top. My bad, that didn't quite work out. Over here instead, and this should be a fairly protected ammo compartment. I'm going to also add one more cube over here and a slope at the front, so that this area is protected and fairly aerodynamic as well. I'll remove the armor plates and add a triangle. Just like so. Now it does mean that my fuel cells are slightly exposed, but I don't think anybody is going to attack me from this angle, at least not so much. And I still have my fairly aerodynamic silhouette, so anything that attacks me should bounce off of my armor. Moreover, there is such thing as actual air resistance in this game, so having an aerodynamic silhouette is very important when you try to create a proper functioning vehicle. So yeah, all of those difficult to calculate physics things, yes, they are actually included in this game. They are being calculated live, which is why this game is was so technically difficult to do, and why it took so long to actually bring it from the state it was in when we finished our Kickstarter to the state you see today. And we do hope that what you see right now is exactly what you wanted, and that you have a lot of fun playing our game. And again, Dieselpunk Wars is now out on Steam. I do encourage everybody to check it out, give it a try, give it a go, see if you like it. And if you have any questions or comments, you can ask them either in the chat and I'll try to answer them, or you can just go ahead and visit our Steam community group. We do have a Steam community group established. We also are active on Steam forums, so everywhere in all of those areas you should be able to talk to us and see what is going on. And this little bit I think I'll just replace with a different spotting module. Like so, and now I should have pretty good vision backwards. Alright. Those are very kind words, Greenfire. I'm happy to see those. It is a very nice feeling to see that people are excited for your game. And I do hope you won't disappoint, and we'll continue, obviously, updating it after release as well. That is our promise to you. Alright, let's go ahead and save this vehicle real quick. Not delete, I almost pressed the delete button. As you could see over there, we also have full Steamworks integration. You can Steam Workshop integration. You can publish your vehicles on the Steam Workshop. You can download them from the Steam Workshop and whatnot. I cannot demonstrate it myself because I'm currently playing on a developer version of the game, not the official Steam version. But trust me, it's there. And it works quite nice. There is also Steam Crowd Sales, Steam Achievements, all of the good stuff, Steam Trading Cards as well. So you can go ahead and try to grab those things if you like to have your badges collected. And I know that a great deal of people do. Okay, my ship is now properly armed and armored. The last thing I need is a way to move it. So first of all, I'll check its center of mass and center of lift. Those two need to be more or less in the same area, but it's the center of mass I care about the most right now, and I can see that my vehicle is very, very front heavy. Not something that is ideal, so what I could do about it is, for instance, add a few turrets in the back, and they will help me against anybody who attacks me from behind. So let's go ahead and do just that. As you can see, I have a very wide selection of turrets. Let's go ahead and go for something tried and tested. The sphere gun will do. I'll have a few of those over here. Like so. And I can't really have them on the bottom because then they would obstruct the vision for my two big massive guns at the bottom. And that helped me a little bit with the imbalance, but it's still not perfect. Well, I have a few more tricks up my sleeve. First of all, there is something that will help you create... Oh, miniguns! Somebody is asking, what about the miniguns? They are in the game. Let's have a quick look and I'll find them in a second. Oh, they're in a separate tab. So basically weapons is a tab that doesn't really qualify for the regular guns or missiles or whatever. And yeah, we do have things like plasma turrets or miniguns. I know people want me to add miniguns, so I'll do that. Now, my ship... it wouldn't look symmetrical though. I can't add them. But yeah, we do have miniguns, they're magnificent. They're not symmetrical for my ship, so I'm not adding them. I'm sorry, it would bother me way too much. There are also bigger versions if you are really, really extreme. Hey, it kind of almost fits if I were to create it somewhere. But why would I want to have a minigun on the back of my ship? Of course, I could have it rotated. Now, normally this part doesn't rotate, it just fires in one direction. But because this is a release version, you can of course work around that. For instance, I could go to manipulators, rotor, the rotating part over here. I would probably want to build it up somewhat and then place my gun on the top of it. Probably make it a bit more symmetrical than I just did. But anyway, you can do that and then you can rotate your gun even though by default you can't rotate it. Obviously, if anybody fires at your rotor, rotors are vulnerable, it would fall off quite easily. But yes, you can make those kind of weird contraptions if you choose to do so. Any other interesting guns I should showcase that haven't been in the game? Well, there's the gravity manipulator I mentioned. It's fun. There's a huge mortar. I am a big fan of this one, but again, not symmetrical. I can't add it in good conscience to this game. The plasma cannon, it's not gonna fit, I can tell you that right away. Anti-air artillery, however, well, we could have those. So let's have a few AA pieces into let's add a few AA pieces into the game. Why not? They'll help me against any flyers that are chasing me, so it makes sense to have them in the back. I still am very front heavy with the way my ship is set up, however. So let's have a quick look, see how to deal with that. I could make the back heavier or make the front lighter. I think it will be easier for me to make the back a little bit heavier, actually. So I'll look into that a bit in a second, but what I also could do is just add a few gyroscopes. So gyroscopes help you balance your ship and make sure that everything is exactly the way it should be and then nothing is drifting apart. So in fact, I'm going to go ahead and add a few gyroscopes at the front of my ship. I'm going to rotate them somewhat. Not like that, but like this, so that they're not completely exposed. And I do want to have a few gyroscopes in the back as well. So, well, at least one. So add one over here. And then I'll just simply add regular cubes on the sides. Okay, and now with those gyroscopes, it should be a little bit easier. Of course, I added 2 at the front and 1 in the back, so again, I'm still more front heavy than I would like to. But we can deal with that by making sure that our balloon is set up properly. So let's go ahead and expand our balloon now, shall we? So I do want my lift to be more or less covering my center of mass. So center of lift should cover the center of mass to a certain degree. And now it's actually perfect. Except this thing isn't exactly the way I want it to be, so if I do it like so, it should now be quite perfect. Alright, so this kind of balloon is actually capable of lifting my ship and keeping it straight. So this should probably help me quite a bit. Oof, I see that I missed a few questions in the chat. My apologies. I was a little bit, focused on actually building this ship at this time. So placing armor plates at max density. Not exactly sure what you mean by that, but right now I'm kind of satisfied with the way that my armor is set up for this vessel. It should be fairly defensible, and again, for an airship, I don't want to add too much of everything, too much of the armor. Yeah, so there's that idea. I'm also low on the crew, so I'll delete one of the AA installments so that my crew won't be as much of an issue. In fact, I'll get rid of 2. If you're over your crew capacity or you need more crew than you have, it's not the end of the world, it's gonna be fine. But nevertheless, it's still going to be okay. It basically means that my weapons will fire at a lower efficiency. Oh, I see what you mean. Right, basically in this game you can also change the armor material as well as armor density. That's what you were talking about, my bad. So yeah, you can still do that in the full game. It will increase the armor weight. So right now the weight for instance, iron is 1. If I increase its density, its weight is going to be increased by 300, so it's going to be 3. But it will be more resistant to armor piercing rounds, which is always a good thing to have. So keep that in mind. Okay, next up, what do we have? Well, I just need to finish this vehicle, and once I place enough of my balloons to actually lift, I believe that I don't need too many more. I'll just go ahead and add them to the side. And this should be quite good already. I should have a lot of lift generated for me, and I shouldn't have any issues actually lifting myself up after I installed those extra ones. So I assume it's going to be okay. Let's test that real quick. I'm going to save this vehicle just in case anything goes horribly wrong. And I'm going to exit the build mode and see if I float, and indeed I do. I float quite nicely. Now, because of my front heaviness, I am somewhat tilting to the front, but it's not a big deal. And my vessel flies very nicely. Okay, I'm satisfied with this. So now all that is left is to cover it up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. since now I have confirmed that my vehicle flies properly. Oh, Greenfire, welcome back. I answered your question. Yes, you can still increase the density. I forgot about this, but I still don't want to increase the density. I just tested my vessel and it seems to be flying quite perfectly. In fact, I don't need to add those extra floating modules. I'm just doing this so that my vehicle looks nice. So let's go ahead and do that. It is also going to increase the aerodynamic nature of my ship, which is still an important thing to have, I suppose. So let's go ahead and do that. Place those modules on the sides and on the front. Nice and easy. And also do that with the bottom section. And this vehicle is going to have way more lift than it actually needs to properly fly. But that's okay, it's always better to have more lift than necessary. You don't have to go full lift, you don't have to enable your maximum lift at any time. So keep that in mind. And I do like my balloons to be nice and aerodynamic so that my airspeed isn't limited too much. Also, you don't have to make airships, you can make functioning aircraft without the use of balloons at all. There are wings now in the game, I should probably showcase them, shouldn't I? So if I go to movement, air propellers, you can find wings, rudders, everything. You can create a proper airplane. It's possible. I just really like airships though. It's just my personal kink. So I'm going to continue making those. And also they are, in my opinion, more stable. And you can install more weapons on them without making them fly poorly. So yeah, airships rule the skies, in my opinion. Alright, so now as you can see, I'm going to save the vehicle one more time, just to make sure everything is fine. But as you can see, the vehicle is flying just nice. In fact, it's... Oh, I forgot about the top part, but it's accelerating without any issues. As you can see, everything is working just fine. And all that I need to do is add the extra gas floaters that I forgot about. Wait a second, that's not symmetrical. I do have a thing for making sure that everything is as symmetrical as possible. I'm sorry, it's just very important for me for some reason. Okay, there we go. So now this balloon is complete and this is a very fun vessel. I like it. It looks unusual, but that's the idea. Wow, you made an airplane without rockets and balloons in the prologue? Now that is impressive. Theoretically, the physics that are required for you to fly an airplane are in the prologue as well. It's just you don't have wing modules in the prologue, which is why I assumed it was impossible. Now I see that it actually is, so that's good to know. Alrighty then. So I'm going to now go ahead and deal with the last thing, and that is add propulsion. So as you can see, my center of mass and my center of lift is in an awkward spot right over here. So if I want my vehicle to turn right, you need to make sure that it has engines around the area where your center of mass and lift are. So I'm going to add the propellers right over here. I'm also going to add the rudders for better control. And let's see, I think that this right here should be good for my air propeller. It doesn't look very secure, but it should be okay. I could even add one from the front, why not? At the front. It looks very insecure. I really want to add it, something to support it. I'll do just that. So I'll install it an extra bit of frame. Let's use this kind of frame, it looks fancy. It did expose a bit of an engine, but oh well. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Let's undo. Thankfully there is an undo button in this game. I use it frequently. I encourage you to do the same. Alright, now it looks like it's somewhat being supported at least, so... You know what, I liked it better than the way it was before, but let's not dilly-dally for too long. Let's keep at it. And I'll also add the proper engines to turn around, so like this. So right now my vehicle should be able to turn around really quickly, although it might not necessarily be the best at accelerating forward because it doesn't have that many engines. In order to change it, I could add a few extra accelerators. So let's have a quick look-see at that. I could go into movement and add rockets. I could add other types of modules as well. I will add a few rocket modules. I think this is going to be fine. Hopefully it will not destroy my center of mass. Or at least it won't destroy it too much. Now this weapon is kind of getting in the way. I think I'll get rid of it. As cool as it looked, instead I'm going to go ahead and add a regular cube right over here. And at the top, adding a rocket at the top looks kind of silly, doesn't it? So instead of that, I'll just add more air propellers. So like this. And now my vehicle should be just a little bit faster when going forward or backwards as well. So this should be good. It won't have rockets. It doesn't need to have them. I wanted to have them though, so I will add one. Will it ruin my lift? I don't think it ruined it completely. How about now? Let's see. Does adding this one little bit of rocket module ruin my ship? It does make it tilt backwards a little bit, which I'm not a fan of. It's going to make aiming a little bit more difficult. Let's just keep it as a gas floater. I don't need to have the rocket in the ship. Right now, I think it's actually kind of ready. It's pretty much good enough. Now, what happens if I do want to land though? That is a good question. And I want to have some... Oh yeah, I wanted to add rudders as well. Let's go ahead and add a few rudders at the top of my ship. And also maybe here in the back. And here at the front, maybe like so. And this should be good enough. All right. This looks like a very awkward and odd ship, but it should work. And finally, I could add something to allow my ship to land. I did reserve this space for my guns, however, so that's a little bit problematic. But maybe I can figure something out. So let's have a quick look. See, under movement, I can find springs. Now, springs are usually useful for aircraft that don't have proper wheels, but they just want to have something to land. But I don't really have anywhere where I could safely place my springs without actually ruining the entire idea of the vehicle. So you know what? This vehicle is not meant to ever land. That's just how it's gonna be. Or I could add a spring over here, but this would be really awkward. But at the same time, it would fix my crew problems. So maybe I'll do something like that. Maybe I'll add a spring right now. It makes no sense. No springs. We are not landing, boys. We stay in the air eternally. Let's save the vehicle and let's take it for a test ride in our new fancy desert map. So let's go ahead and see how well it behaves. So as you can see, it moves nicely. It's increased its lift to a maximum. We can't see anything because of the dust storm, but it still moves quite nicely. Maybe it's a good thing I will not able to see the entire map. I don't want to spoil everything, but there is a river over somewhere to find for you. So I'll in fact go down to where there's a bit of vegetation. There is an area like this on this map. But yeah, my ship seems to be moving quite nicely. It does have one downside, and it seems to be very difficult to aim this ship. However, when I'm trying to fire at areas near the from the bottom camera, it actually works quite fine. Again, you can switch between cameras by pressing the B button. So for this ship, I strongly encourage against using the upper camera, because it clearly doesn't work very well. The bottom camera, however, works quite fine. Alright, let's go ahead and test this ship in combat. Let's go ahead and spawn a few vehicles. Ooh, hello there. Ooh, this guy is actually accelerating faster than I am. Well, let's fix that real quick, shall we? There we go. In fact, you know what would make my vehicle even stronger? It would be enabling the auto-fire for all of our front-loaded guns. This should help it quite a bit. Man, this guy just keeps flying higher and higher. What is this, fight in the skies? I can no longer see the ground. I mean, I do see the horizon of sorts, just very, very far away. Okay, I won. Where am I? I'm 500 meters in the sky. Alright, let's go back down. That was a fast way of getting back down. Oops, I don't want to spoil that. See that for yourself, what else there is to find on this map. But yeah, it seems like this vessel works quite fine. Let's go back to the ground level and let's fix just one last thing. I want to make sure that my turrets actually auto-aim. Oh wait, they do auto-aim, they just didn't have proper cone of fire. Alright. Let's make sure the anti-air turret does have auto-aim, as well as this turret at the bottom. Though these turrets have auto-aim, they don't, obviously, because they're rather big. Now, of course, I can also reassign these turrets to a different group, so I can manually disable or enable them if I so desire. There isn't a need for that necessarily, but you may choose to do that. In the same way, you can also manipulate a number of other things. You can even enable camera mode for your spotting modules, and there are also a lot of other features you can experiment with when you click on some of the things that are in the game. Alright, that was a pretty decent showcase of how you create your own ship. We created what I would say a pretty good ship. I'm very satisfied with it. Let's just take it for a spin one more time. Let's spawn a few ships. Let's see how well we do against them. And in a second, I'm going to showcase the campaign mode as well as the battle mode. The camera mode should allow you to see from a different perspective of your ship. Alright, so because of the dust storm, I cannot see the enemies clearly. Again, this is something that you need to take into consideration. Different maps have obviously different quirks about them. In this case, it's visibility. But at the same time, once I am in range of my enemies, destroying them is a fairly easy task, provided that I actually have a proper cone of fire of my enemies. And as it turns out, I really could use some bombs for this vehicle. It's not handling ground vessels very well. How about an air fight? I already destroyed one of the enemy airships. Can I destroy this one? Well, let's see. I'm going to attempt to do that. Those are pretty bad shots, but as you can see, my motors are doing quite okay. I am using a zoom in mode. I am using perhaps it a little bit too extensively, but it does make it so that aiming is a little bit easier. And as you can see, I was able to set the enemy ship ablaze, and then one single shot at their command center allowed me to destroy the enemy completely, and now it's gone. Wonderful. Alright, that was good enough to showcase the creative mode. Let's now go back to the main menu and go ahead and have a bit of fun with the campaign mode as well as a battle simulator. I do need to take a sip of my drink, which I don't have, so I guess I won't take a sip of any drink right now. It happens. So anyway, before I continue, I'll just like to remind everybody, Dieselpunk Wars is now out on Steam. You can check it out, you can give it a spin, you can buy it. Would appreciate it if you did. Or if you cannot buy it right now, you can add it to a Steam wishlist. It still helps us, even though it helps us obviously a bit less than actually properly buying the game. Check it out, let us know what you think about it, and give us any feedback regarding any potential bugs you find or any ideas you have for the game. The game is still in active development, even though it's now live on Steam. And the nearest big patch we're going to have is going to be the Endless mode added to the game. But before the Endless mode comes out, we're also going to have any number of necessary hotfixes, patches, balance changes, or other bug fixes whenever they're important. Thank you, Greenfire or Connor Larson. It's always fun seeing you on my live streams. So it's time to showcase a bit of the campaign. I don't want to spoil too much, so I'll just load one of my save files real quick and just show you what there is to do in the campaign mode. I won't do a lot with the campaign because I know that some people really dislike spoilers, so this is a bit of the story. I'm going to now skip as quickly as possible and basically show you how it is in the campaign mode. So in the campaign mode, things are a little bit different from the creative mode. I'm currently on the second mission of the campaign mode, or the second map of the campaign mode, not second mission. I've already completed a number of missions. There is a skill tree in the campaign mode, which has a number of different abilities you can unlock, which allow you to, for instance, change your ship's resistance to damage, increase the amount of damage you can output, deal with more, increase the amount of skill points, not skill points, but rather increase the amount of HP you have, increase the budget you have, and so on. So those skills are very nice to use. As for the budget, basically in the campaign mode, you have a certain limit of parts you can have. Every part has an assigned budget. and you cannot use more paths that are worth more than your maximum budget available at any given time. There's also a limit on the type of paths you have access to in the campaign, and as you progress through the story you unlock more paths. Completing side quests also unlocks more additional paths for you to use for your vehicle, so that you can make it even stronger, even more fun, and add more things to it, and make it easier for you to complete further challenges in the game. So while the initial set of blocks and initial budget may last you for a few missions, eventually it will force you to remake your vehicle and create something stronger. Moreover, something I didn't showcase are the decals. This game does have decals, it has a few of them, they're fun, I encourage you to give them a try. Let's see, I have access to quite a few of those. If you don't have access to them, it's probably because you're not a Kickstarter backer, because Kickstarter backers have access to decals like this, for instance, where you can add a decal to your ship, and it's just like this. I can add something about loving Dieselpunk, so yeah, let's add a heart to my ship, why not? And then at the front I could add something else entirely, so maybe something like this. It looks kind of hideous, but I can add it, that's the key point. So nevertheless, one of the backers actually has designed some of the icons. Other icons were just designed by us, so basically there's a lot to look for. You can obviously also rotate your icons and do a lot of cool stuff with them. I'm not going to waste time doing that, however, I'm just showcasing the possibility. Obviously, like you always could, you can still paint your vessel, so if I wanted to have some of it be yellow for some reason, I can do that. Now I have a yellow and green vehicle. Well, it is almost Christmas time, so I suppose it makes sense. Now I should add some red and we'll be all set, but I won't do that, thank you very much. So yeah, this is a vehicle I made for the campaign mode. It is a little bit awkward, but that's because I had to fit within the budget limit, but it works quite fine. It can fly. As you can see, in my campaign I also changed my crosshair. Yes, you can change your crosshair in the game, you just have to go into options, controls, and change your crosshair. You have 3 crosshairs to choose from at this time if you're not a Kickstarter backer. Kickstarter backers have a few more to choose from, because, you know, those were some of their rewards when they were backing our campaign. Now this vehicle is nothing all that fancy, but it works quite well. So right now my mission is quite simple, I just need to reach a certain point. So let's go ahead and do that, showcase you a bit more of a map. I won't really show you any important story bits. I know that some people really dislike it when story is revealed. And oh hey, what's this? There are some enemies. Again, I skipped through the dialogues and through the story so that you wouldn't know what's going on. But yes, there are enemies, and I'm actually doing quite poorly against them, but thankfully my ship doesn't have any difficulty standing back after it falls down, so I can just do that and destroy those prehistoric pirate beetles without any issue. As you can see, these beetles are slightly different than the beetles a player has access to. That's because in the campaign mode we do have different factions. Those factions have different colors assigned to them. They create their ships slightly differently. You know, we wanted to create variety and at the same time make sure that it's easy to identify which vehicles belong to who. In this mission I didn't need to destroy those enemy vehicles, but I could, and I did. I can also destroy random adds that are on the map. They're just a little bit of fun tools, again, for you to have fun with, add a little bit of variety to our game, or rather our maps, and also for you to destroy, because everybody wants to destroy ads, so obviously we allow you to do that. Also, I think I'm running out of ammo, and that's exactly the case, so in order to refuel on ammo, normally I would just go ahead and repair my ship. The issue is, I'm being fired upon, and when you're being fired upon, oof, you cannot repair your ship, and right now my ship is going through some really hard times, but thankfully, okay, I was almost able to repair it. Unfortunately, if you are attacked while your ship is undergoing repairs, the process is stopped. But right now the enemy cannot quite fire on me, I'm nicely hidden behind a hill, so, oh, and the enemy missed me, that's great. So this allowed me to make a brilliant comeback and restore all my ammo. So I changed my camera mode and now open fire on my ship. And yes, I am using the lower camera because while you are using your ship as an airship, it is just easier to aim like this. And the enemy is down. Wonderful. Let's change the camera back again. And as you can see, even though in the campaign mode I do have a stern limit on how many parts I can use and what kind of parts I am allowed to use, I was still able to create a vehicle that is very functional. It's quirky for sure, but it works and it checks out. Oof. And I instantly destroyed that one enemy ship that was sent after me. That's wonderful. Alright, let's go ahead over here. Let's have a quick look, see what's happening over here. And I'm going to not enable the story missions because, again, I know some people care about those stuff deeply. So if I were to enable the story mission, I would go into here, right over here. But instead, I'm going to go into one of our actual optional objectives. So every map in the campaign has optional objectives, similarly to how they have optional objectives to be completed even in the proper sandbox mode. And I'm going to find one of them for you real quick. This one is fairly tough. So basically this mission, I'm going to simply go ahead and skip through anything that the camera would otherwise show me and just explain it myself. In this mission, the name of the mission is the upper right corner. This is one of the missions that our backers actually named. So it is named after one of our backers. And in this mission you have two powerful vehicles that are going to chase us. They are way too powerful for a player to destroy by themselves. So the only chance you have at this stage of the campaign to survive is to go through the minefields and try to make it so that the enemy actually is blown up by the mines while you are not. Well, and in my case, I was instantly blown up. My ship is a little bit underpowered. I did create it on the previous map of the campaign. Typically speaking, I would encourage you to try this side quest when you are closer to the end of the second map, not when you have just started the second map, because I have currently only finished the first quest of the first map. Should I show you case one more side quest? This won't spoil any story, so I am tempted. What is this? Is this an easy one that could feasibly complete? Oh, it's a race. So basically, as you can see, there is a racetrack on this map. However, my vehicle right now is not really suited to take part in a race. Normally in the campaign, I would simply recreate my vehicle to be ready to take on any race and to actually complete this race and win it in time. My apologies. But because of my time constraints and because of how long I've been live streaming already, I won't do so this time around. I'll just showcase the track real quick. You know what? If I'm showcasing the track, I'll go back out from the campaign mode. I could save progress, but I don't need to. I haven't done anything great, really. I'll go back to the creative mode real quick, enable the race, and just showcase you the racetrack real quick. And then, before we finish it off, I'm going to show you the battle simulation mode, because that's, again, where all the fun is at. So I'm going to teleport to the track, and I'm going to use a fun, fast vehicle. Now, my favorite vehicle for this track is actually not available. I don't have it in my save files on this PC, unfortunately. So I'll improvise, I'll do something different. Let's use Dastardly Fork. Let's see how well this one is going to perform when on this track. As you can see, my crosshair stayed from the one I chose last. Alright, so as you can see, the track, it is slippery. So if you don't make tight turns, you will slip on it. As you can see, it is raining and we do have proper physics simulation, so you might be forced into drift every now and again, and it will take a lot of practice for you to master this track and complete it properly. Of course, Dieselpunk Wars is a game mostly about creating new vehicles and about fighting them and designing them and all this good stuff. But why not have a racetrack, right? Racetracks are always fun after all. And of course, in the campaign mode, there are other enemies on this racetrack, and in the creative mode, I can spawn more enemies that are going to fire on me, and they are going to try to chase me. Oof. That was a bad drift, and yeah, I'm stuck, and the enemy is now firing upon me. Oh, the enemy spawned outside of the track, which is not ideal and optimal for the enemy, but I'll continue driving as fast as possible and fast and furious. So yeah, I will not showcase the intro map. You are all going to see the introductory first map as soon as you purchase the game, because that's the map when the campaign actually starts. The second map of the campaign is the map you see right now, which is, well, the map I blew up on, which is this swampy kind of marshland map with the racetrack. Then there is the desert map, which I have already showcased on the stream, which is the biggest map we have in the game, and it has room for truly massive vehicles, as well as the smaller vehicles if you choose to design such things. And there's also the island maps you all know and love, where you can have massive naval battles if you so desire. So, last but by no means least, let's go ahead and showcase the battle simulator. I could go to a forest map, but I don't believe this is the best map for a battle simulator. Instead, let's go back to the desert map and have a quick look-see at the kind of carnage we can cause in the battle simulator. I'm simply going to go ahead and spawn a few enemy ships and have them face against each other, and this should allow you to simply see what this mod is all about. Alright, we have loaded into the mod. We're at some area of the desert. I won't tell you exactly where, but yes, you can reach it in the campaign or the creative mode. And let's just say it's quite far away from your spawn. The spawn is there. Far, far away, you cannot even see it from here. So, like I mentioned, the desert map is truly massive. It is the biggest map we have, yes, even bigger than the island map we have available in the prologue version. Because yes, if you want, you can try out the free version of Dieselpunk Wars called Dieselpunk Wars Prologue. It only has one map, one game mode, that being the creative game mode, and far fewer parts, but it will give you a good idea if you like this sort of game or not, if this game is for you. I do, however, encourage you to buy the full version of the game because I'm a developer. Obviously, I want you to buy the full version of the game. Right. So, in here, I'm going to go ahead and set up a small battle for us to spectate. So let's see, I only have a few ships available. I want this to be a regular ground battle, so I'm going to just drag a hammer onto the battlefield. Over here, you can recognize this is the ship we had on our concept arts, and in the CGI, this is basically one of the first ships we had a concept art for. In fact, I believe it is the first ship we had a concept art for, so it's quite kinda iconic for us, and we really like it. It's also quite powerful. Alright, so let's go ahead and now hop over to blue team. Wait, I actually assigned it to blue team, but that's okay. No, it has to be red team. But now I'm going to spawn some blue team ships, so something that has a chance against this massive vessel. So let's go for Mr. 5. I'll rotate it with my Z button. Again, key bindings are over here. You can check them out if you so choose, and they should help you. I'll drag those ship with a mouse, and I'll choose it to be a ram vessel because it does have those menacing looking drills at the front. It should be quite good at ramming. Now, I thought I had more ships in my save file, but apparently not on this PC, unfortunately, because I wanted to showcase a different creation of one of our backers, a saw blade, a truly terrifying vehicle that is a rare enemy spawn, but I can't, unfortunately, it seems like I don't have the save file for it. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and create a few other things, ships. So let's say I'll add the Poseidon's Bident. For the blue team as well, it's going to be at the front right over here. And now, as you can see, inferior blue team has a higher score rating than the red team, so it should do a little bit better. I could keep adding more ships. I could add pirate team as well. Pirates fight against everybody, in case you're wondering. But that's good enough. I'm going to go ahead and now start the battle. Let's have this guy at an angle, yeah. And let's see what the AI will do in this particular scenario. So as you can see, wow, that was quick. Mr. 5 immediately has a big chunk of it taken out and immediately tries to run away from the enemy. And whew, okay, well, that part kind of messed up, and the other ship has already blown up. And Mr. 5 is in bad shape as our iconic hammer vessel is now finishing off the enemy. They're now circling around each other, but this battle is destined to be won by the hammer. So, alright, what happens in this case? Well, we could reset everything and see if the battle will change if we give it another try. As you can see, the AI doesn't always repeat their moves exactly. They are slightly different this time around. And this time, the red team isn't doing quite so hot. Mr. 5 went behind the hammer and is now avoiding its shots, and now they're both fighting at each other while Poseidon's Bident. It is on fire, something hit it, but it's still alive. And oh, it seems like our hammer is stuck on some of the rocks, it cannot quite climb them, and it was actually taken out. So as you can see, the Battle Simulator mode allows you to very quickly set up awesome battles. And in fact, let's go ahead and reset everything one more time. And if I wanted to create something that's even more hectic, I could add a pirate. Let's see, something that our community member, and I believe Backer, created. And this ship won a community challenge and was as such put into the game. And I'll set it to be just a medium range ship, and it is going to go ahead and behave itself quite nicely. As you can see, in the past, in the prologue, you had to set ships up and tell the AI if it's an airship or if it's a ground ship, but now you don't have to. Now the AI should just remember this, remember the way the ship was built, and just in this case, as you can see, it automatically flew the alien airship and is now going as far away from the battlefield as possible. Clearly a smart move. No, seriously, why are you running? Well, I guess the AI really doesn't want to fight today. I guess this is a walkover victory for the blue team. Oh well. As I can see, they're still losing some points because they are on fire right now. Whatever hit this Poseidon's Bident, it must have been a high impact weapon. Oh! And I guess I know what happened. It must have been the fuel tank that was on fire, and the fuel tank then blew up something more important. Maybe a command block or maybe ammo block, but yeah, that was it. So, that was a quick glance at the Battle Simulator mode. Actually, wait, no, I need to go back to it. Sorry for the loading screen. Oh, there's the vehicle you just saw in the Battle Simulator. Yeah, this vehicle you can see on the CGI, you can recreate it without any problems with the game. Not false advertising. Obviously the graphics are nicer in the CGI, but other than that, there's nothing stopping you from creating any of the vehicles in the CGI. In fact, the first thing we did when the CGI was being created is we made sure that all of the ships in the CGI are possible to be created in the actual game, and yes, there is no problem. If you want to, you can recreate them without any issues whatsoever. It's completely feasible. Alright, but what I wanted to showcase is let's use the hammer again. And a few ships for the blue team. Let's go for a Blade Racer. Let's set it as a ram. Let's go for Drifting Cutie again as a ram. I don't really care what I'm fighting against right now. Maybe the Desert Ant, why not? Again, let's make it into a ram. What I want to showcase is how you can take control of any vehicles during a battle. So basically, it's very simple. You have to simply click on a vehicle's eye icon, and now I am controlling the vehicle. So if you want to create epic battles where you get to fight against dozens of enemy ships at the same time, you can do so very easily. And now if I want to, I can go back to free camera, and now the AI takes control over my ship again. And then I can click on the eye icon again, and then take the control away once more time and finish the enemy off by myself. Nicely done. I'm actually kind of proud of myself for that one. So yeah, there is it. Dieselpunk Wars, now available on the Steam store as an early access release. I do encourage you to check it out. There is also a free demonstrative prologue version of the game available, but the full version has 4 maps already, over 300 different modules, 3 different game modes, including a fully fledged campaign. So really, we could have released it as a standalone title instead of being early access, but we decided that we really want to have the community feedback in regards to balance as well any possible bugs, since because this game has such advanced physics and is an open world game, it is impossible for our testing team to see everything. Moreover, we do want to roll over additional features such as the endless mode, where you fight against waves of progressively harder enemies. So because of the new features we wanted to add, yeah, that was another reason why we went with this decision of releasing the game in this current state. So like I said, there will be a number of cool bug fixes, well, necessary bug fixes if they are necessary, and balance changes in the coming days. And our next major patch will include the Endless mode, which I think you should really look forward to because it's going to be quite spectacular. And it is my personal favorite mode in the game right now, even though I used to like other modes a little bit more than that. Nevertheless, that was, I believe, a pretty good showcase of what Dieselpunk Wars is all about. This was an over 2-hour long live stream, and my throat is starting to act up. So again, for any of you just joining the live stream, the game is actually a vehicle building game with advanced physics and damage simulation, with vehicles that can be cut in half, with projectiles that can bounce off armor depending on the projectile speed and angle at which they impact the armor. There's actual air drag, you can have different modules flooded or set on fire, so the physics is really advanced in this game. And there's no limit really to what you want to create. All of the vehicles that are visible in the CGI are actually recreatable in the game itself. So there's again something fun for you to do while you're playing the game. With over 300 modules that you can use and 3 different game modes, there's really an endless amount of possibilities for you to explore in this game. And we're just getting started. Like I said, the Endless mode with waves of enemies will be our next major update, so please do look forward to that. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching on behalf of everybody over here at Image Power Studios. I do encourage you to check out our other games as well. They are nowhere close to being released yet. For instance, but games like, for instance, Ablaze Simulator, Yacht Mechanic Simulator, and other things like that, they are in production, so I do encourage you to check them out. I encourage you to check out our Discord channel, where you can interact with the rest of our community, or just chat with us on the Steam forums. That's also a possibility. But most and foremost, I do encourage you to check out Dieselpunk Wars, which is now available on the Steam store and in your local currency, whatever it is, and it should be pretty fun. I recommend it. I'm biased because I'm one of the developers, but I still recommend it nevertheless. Thank you everybody very much for watching. I hope you enjoy our game,